Hey, good evening, everyone. How are you tonight? Happy Wednesday night. Happy hump day. I actually said that, or I didn't say it. The crossing guard this morning said it to my kids as we were crossing the street. That he said, "Happy hump day," and my son looked at me and he said, "What's hump day?" I said, "It's the middle of the week. It's the hump of the week." It's kind of funny that he's almost 9 and he had never heard that before. So it was funny to introduce them to new phrases every time my kids pick up something new like that, and then you wonder, where they learn these things, because some of the stuff that he comes home saying, and then he doesn't know the term happy hump day. But oh well. So I wanted to talk to you guys tonight about the power of yes and the power of no. I'd love to see in the comments as people are rolling in, what do you think that means? The power of yes and the power of no, because they are both very, very, very powerful words. And if you're here live, let me know. Give me a hashtag live, because I can see people are rolling in. There's a handful of you guys in here. I can't see all the faces, but I can see numbers up there. So I can see that there are people here. So let me know that you're on, and I would love to hear from you about the power of yes and the power of no. What do you think I am talking about? What does that mean to you when I say the power of yes and the power of no? Or are you just waiting here for me to explain it to you? And if that's the case, you can also put that in the comments and let me know, hey, Michael, because yes and no are really, really, really powerful words in our vocabulary. Okay. And I've been talking about this a lot today. And I find when I talk about something with more than one person, usually 2 or 3 people in a day, it means I need to go live about it. And that's sometimes how I come up with my live topic is, right, what am I talking about a lot with people today or during the day or during the week? That's something that comes up over and over and over again. It means that it's resonating with people. So the power of yes, the power of no. Does anybody here have a guess before I tell you what it means? I'm going to give a second because I know there's a lag on the time when people go live. Hey, Micah. Yes and no, super powerful words. Okay, so here's what I was talking about with my clients today, since nobody's chiming in, and it may just be the lag, but that's okay. Here's what I was talking about today with my clients and with some of the coaches that I work with, right? Every time we say yes to something, or every time we say no to something, either way, right? We are saying the opposite to something else. So every time we say yes to doing something, we are saying no to the opposite. So what do I mean by that? So I was having this conversation with a coach of mine who I work with, and she was really struggling to find some priorities in her life and to hone in on the priorities of life. And right, and so she has a hard time saying no to people, right? She says yes to everything people that ask her, and she's really struggling with this. She's really struggling with her own priorities in her life. And so we started this conversation. Hey, Susie. We started this conversation of, okay, every time you're saying yes to other people, that means you're saying no to something something else. Something, if somebody is asking you for their time, when you're giving them your time, which there's nothing wrong with, right? I'm not saying don't help other people. I'm not saying don't say yes to other people. But when you say yes to helping somebody, that means you're saying no to doing something for yourself. Sometimes that's okay. But if you're somebody who never says no to people, that can hinder things, and that was where it was coming from, is that she was really struggling because all these people were tapping in to what she asking her for help constantly. Everybody was harping on her to do this, to do this, to do this, to do this. And she was never saying no. And then she was having this whole pile of stuff that she needed to do in her own life that wasn't getting done. And she was feeling miserable because she didn't have time for it. And so when we started breaking it down, okay, every time you say yes to this, you're saying no to yourself, right? You have to find that right balance. And the opposite is true. Every time you say no to something, you are saying yes to something else. So let's take this in the concept of health, right? Every time, if you are standing there and you are staring at a chocolate chip cookie, maybe it's just me, but staring at a chocolate chip cookie, right? When you say yes to that cookie, you are saying no to something else in your health, right? And maybe not. One chocolate chip cookie is not going to kill somebody. It's not going to, not going to destroy somebody if you don't do it every day, right? But every time you say yes to going off of your program, whatever program you're on, you are saying no to your health. And that's pretty powerful. That's really, really, really powerful. Or every time you say no to going off of your plan, you are saying yes to your health and yes to your future self. Wow, sort of mind-blowing, isn't it? Right? And that's something that goes through my mind a lot when I am faced with, challenges, when I'm staring at something and saying, do I really want this? Right? If I say yes, What am I saying no to? And it's interesting because I'm running a Healthy Habits Challenge going on, private group with a Healthy Habits Challenge. And we're talking about this actually in the group. I talked about it a little bit today, and I'm going to expand on it some more tomorrow, right? When we're challenged with emotional eating, right? Emotional eating is something that I consider anytime you are not eating to fuel your body, anytime you are eating to do anything besides fuel your body, that's emotional eating. That can be boredom, that can be exhaustion, that can be stress, that can be happiness, that can be sadness, that can be anger, any of those things, right? Any and all of the above in my mind is considered emotional eating. The only time it's not emotional eating is if you are doing it to fuel your body, right? Otherwise, it's emotional eating, right? So anytime we're standing there in the kitchen, staring at the refrigerator or staring at the pantry or staring at things that we shouldn't be having, and it's emotional eating, every time we say yes to that emotional eating, right, we might be saying yes to 30 seconds worth of pleasure, a minute worth of pleasure, 5 minutes worth of pleasure, however long it takes us to eat, whatever it is that we're staring at. But then what are we saying no to? We're saying no to our goals. We're saying no to feeling good. We're saying no to our long-term health, right? Every time we do this, we are saying no to our future self. That's really, really powerful. It's a really powerful statement, right? If you struggle with finances, right? I'm going to take this totally out of the food realm because I help people deal with their finances a lot too. And I help people get themselves out of debt. And for those of you who have not followed me for long, who don't know my story, we have really fought to get out of debt over the last 3.5 years, right? And so every time when there's a choice to spend the money on something, right? Every time we say yes to something, that means we're saying no to something else. We're making a choice, right? There's only so much money that we allow ourselves to spend each month, right? We've put ourselves on a budget. Every time we say yes to something, it means that we're saying no to something else. And my daughter was actually asking me about this earlier today, right? So I work out of my dining room, and I don't enjoy working out of my dining room. I desperately, desperately need an office. And I've been talking about for the last 1.5 years, building myself an office in the basement, right? And I have the space. I know exactly where I want to do it. And, I have a plan, and we had this bat mitzvah. So I said yes to the bat mitzvah and all the cool things that we did for the bat mitzvah, which meant I was saying no at the time to building myself an office. There's only so much finances that go around, right? I said yes to taking my kids to Disney, right? Several times, last April, in July, we're going back in December, right? I said yes to that, which meant I was saying no temporarily to my office in my basement, right? That was just the reality. And, when we say yes to one thing, we're saying no to something else, period, right? So my daughter, I was making the comment tonight that it's time. I need to start saying yes to my office in my basement, right? And, our Disney trip for December is all paid off. The bat mitzvah is passed. All these things are done. It's time for me to say yes to the basement office. And I was making this comment. I was talking about this with Micha tonight, and my daughter was standing there, and she said, well, Mommy, she said, once you're doing that, she said, can't we just finish the whole basement? Because our basement is unfinished. It's a storage area. And I looked at her and I said, no. And she said, why not? I said, because there's a big difference in the cost of me putting up three walls and a door versus finishing our entire basement the way I would love to finish our basement. I said, if I say yes to the basement, to doing the full basement, I said, that means no to a lot of other things that you wanted. And she said, well, I don't understand why we didn't do it whenever. And I said, because I said yes to your bat mitzvah. I said, and because I said yes to Disney 3 times in this year, right? And because I said yes to other things. And her eyes lit up. She was like, okay, I get it. She's in a business and finance class, and they're starting to talk a little bit about finances and debt and responsible spending. So when I said this to her, it made sense. It resonated, right? We have to make a choice. And everything in our life is about making a choice. When we say yes to one thing, we're saying no to something else. And when we start thinking about it that way, it makes our decisions so much easier. When we start thinking about, okay, I'm going to say yes to this, but what am I saying no to? So much easier to make a decision sometimes. Sometimes it's not, right? Sometimes it's not. Sometimes that's a really hard choice. Am I okay saying no to something? Am I okay saying yes to it, right? But really thinking through that and really having that on the forefront of our mind. And when you do that, that's how you can start to change your life. That's how you can start to change old habits, right? Because those old habits, if they were bad habits, you were saying yes to that bad habit, which meant you were saying no to building that good habit. So when we start to think about it, when we start to flip it, it all changes, right? And I'm going to tell you, it's not easy. there are some days that I still say yes to the things that are bad habits, right? But I'll tell you, I've been spot on my plan the last few days. And this is really what's been going through my head, which is why I think I've been talking about this with a lot of people. Every time those things stare at me that I shouldn't eat because they're not on my plan right now, right? And that's not to say that they're not going to be back on my plan later on, but right now, where I'm at, they're not on my plan, right? When I look at them and I say, if I say yes to this, what am I saying no to? I'm saying no to getting to my goal faster. I'm saying no to fat burn, which feels amazing. I'm saying no to where I want to be within the next few weeks, back on the scale, right? I'm saying no to myself and to my goals if I say yes to that food, if I let that food win, right? And so that's really, really such a big thought when you start putting it that way. Such a huge thought when you start putting it that way. And so I'm going to challenge you tonight. What are you going to say yes to? And what are you going to say no to, right? Hey, Gail, what are those things in your life that you're going to say yes to? And what are you going to say no to? And you know what? If you need help figuring that out, because sometimes we do, sometimes we need to talk through it with people, reach out. Right? I'm here. That's what I do as a coach. I help people figure those things out. That's why I've had this conversation with a whole bunch of people today, because this is not just me that goes through this and struggles with this, right? We sit and we talk about it and we figure out, okay, here are your priorities. Here's what you want to accomplish. So if you're going to say yes to those things, what does it mean you're giving up, right? So reach out. Let's talk. And if you don't know what you should be saying yes and no to, that's even a bigger thing. And let's do a free health assessment. I always do free health assessments. I go through, help you figure out what your health goals be. And in that, we talk about health goals. We talk about financial goals. We talk about all those pieces. What should those be so you can figure out what you need to say yes to in your life, right? Because that's really powerful. So I hope you have a great night. Think about it tonight. What are you saying yes to? And what are you saying no to? I'd love to hear it. You can either stick it in the comments here. And if you're on this live, give me a hashtag live because I can see a whole bunch of people. And if you are, if you catch this in the replay, give me a hashtag replay. Micah says, I'm going to say yes to having food on my birthday weekend and then going back on my plan on Sunday. Does that make sense? Micah, that makes absolute sense. And you know what? It's not going off of a plan because you are making a plan to have something special on your birthday. So that is your plan, right? It's back to the current plan. Yes, current plan of what you're doing, but you are just shifting your plan for your birthday, which is awesome, right? That's a whole topic for a whole different thing about where people say a quote unquote cheat day, which I hate that term because it's a very diet mentality term. You are making a different plan for your birthday weekend, and that's awesome. Right? As long as you have a plan for it, right? Not mindless eating, but plan. Pick your things. What is your absolute favorite thing that you want to have for your birthday, right? I'll tell you, for my birthday, if I was picking my absolute favorite things, I would have sushi. And I don't know whether I would have for dessert, but I would definitely have sushi because I don't really eat sushi anymore. One of these days, I'm going to do a deconstructing sushi roll live and show you why I no longer eat sushi. I love it. It tastes good, but it's not as healthy as people think. But it's okay for me to have on my birthday, right? It's okay for me to have every once in a while. So I really want you to think about, thank you, Micah, for sharing that. I really want you guys to think about, what are you saying yes to and what are you saying no to? And if you're struggling, if you're standing there staring at the pantry, use that. Stop, challenge, choose. Stop, think about it. Ask yourself if you really want it. Ask yourself if you say yes to this, what are you saying no to, right? Powerful. Really powerful. Have a great night, and I will see you back here tomorrow. Bye.